Welcome to Wawa Sandwire. Today, we're talking about Stephen Sim's views on political strength and governance. We need to unpack a major argument he recently made, which is, well, basically this huge claim. That proving competence over nearly 2 decades at the state level. That directly translates to being ready for Putrajaya.
Yeah, it's like he's presenting the ultimate political resume, isn't it? He's basically taking the successful long-term management of Penang, which is, an economically complex state, and holding it up as the definitive proof for why the Democratic Action Party should lead the federal government. The logic seems pretty straightforward. If we can run the state well, we can run the nation well.
Okay, but that sounds like a massive leap. A
Sure.
big claim, definitely. What specific evidence, what proof points does he actually rely on to make that connection
Yep.
from, the state capital right up to the federal level? Because critics would argue state and national management are just completely different things.
Well, he frames it less as just a simple mandate and more like an earned right, something built on character and sustained effort over time. And that story starts with the party's history.
Okay, right. Let's unpack that journey then. Because Stephen Sim himself talked about his own experience joining the party way back in 2007. He described a time when they were really dug in as the opposition. And the whole idea of actually holding executive power, that seemed almost, well, unimaginable back then. Just constant uphill battles.
Yeah, and what's really crucial to his argument is the identity they built during those opposition years. He makes a point of saying their historical support didn't come from the elites or the insiders. No, it was the ordinary people, right? Hawkers, factory workers, small business owners, the folks raising funds, like 1 ringgit at a time. They rallied behind this powerful grassroots idea.
That idea of you must work hard to succeed. That seems central to the narrative he's building, this sense of relentless effort.
Exactly. And to really drive home that resilience point, he brought up the example of the current chief minister, Chow Kanyao. Sim mentioned how after losing the state election back in '95, Chow didn't just leave. He actually stayed on, committed to the party headquarters, apparently earning only about RM 800 a month then.
Wow.
And Sim uses that anecdote, not just as history, but to show this core principle. Where they fall, they stand up again. Persistence.
Right, it gives their whole governance story a kind of moral backbone. And Sim really emphasizes that this grassroots identity isn't something they'll compromise on. They're positioning themselves as the party for the common person, dedicated to those who work hard, not just the established elite.
It's about building that foundation of credibility first.
Yeah.
Showing who they are before they show what they've done.
Okay, so if that first part establishes the character, the who, then the second part is all about the proof, the actual competence shown through the Penang model. And Sim directly tackles the old criticisms here. He remembers how, back in 2008, critics were loud predicting the party would fail, or that Penang would, quote, sink under their leadership.
And his counter's pretty blunt. 17 years of continuous governance has settled that debate, period. He points to what he describes as a major transformation. Sim claims the state went from being called a garbage state to becoming known as clean, efficient, well-run, especially in that initial phase after they took over. That physical change is a strong visual argument for competence, isn't it?
The cleanup is one thing, yeah, but it's the economic figures that really aim for the federal level argument. Sim credited the current state leadership under Chow Kanyao with attracting a really staggering amount of investment. What was it? Over RM 253.4 billion in just 8 years.
That figure, RM 253.4 billion, it's not just a number in his argument. It's political proof. It suggests, smooth bureaucracy, investor confidence, successful economic policies. It shows an environment where global players are willing to put down serious long-term money, mostly in high-tech sectors, which is a huge win in today's economy.
Okay. But let me push back a bit here. Penang is kind of unique economically, isn't it? It's already a strong manufacturing hub, got the port access. Is that success easily copied? Can you replicate that in states like Kelantan or Sarawak? They have totally different economies, different needs. Does attracting RM 253 billion to Penang really prove you get the needs of the whole country?
And that's the core question, isn't it? The scalability question. But Sim's response seems to focus not just on the outcome, that huge investment figure, but on the administrative capacity that made it happen. He highlighted the big infrastructure projects they undertook, projects that show planning and execution.
Right, things like getting the light rail transit system moving. That's crucial for Penang's future traffic, everyone knows that. And the airport expansion, developing new industrial parks to keep that investment flowing. And yeah, the critical water supply projects. You can't run industries or cities without reliable water.
And this is where he connects it back to leadership style and political skill. Sim specifically praised the chief minister as an action-oriented leader, someone focused on getting things done, not just talking. But maybe more importantly, he highlighted the crucial cooperation needed across government levels. He pointed to support from key central government figures, like Loksi Fook at the Transport Ministry and Nunga Korming at the Local Government Development Ministry.
Okay, wait. Why is getting support from those specific federal ministers such a key point for Sim's argument? What does that prove?
Because it shows they don't just succeed in their own bubble, locally. It suggests they have the political skill, the know-how to navigate the national landscape, to secure federal funding, get projects like the LRT and airport expansion prioritized. It demonstrates administrative maturity
Yeah.
and the ability to actually work effectively within a coalition government setup, which is vital.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. It's not just about planning, it's about the political negotiation too. Which leads us right into the final piece of his argument. Taking that state success, that philosophy of care, and translating it directly into federal action. Now that Sim himself is Human Resources Minister, how does the thinking behind building industrial parks in Penang shift to national social security policy?
Well, he argues that the core philosophy caring for the ordinary person, that grassroots identity is now driving tangible policy at the federal level under his watch. He points directly to concrete nationwide changes implemented through the Social Security Organization, PERCSO.
Okay, and what exactly did they do through the Social Security Organization that proves this transition he's talking about?
The big one he highlighted was establishing 24-hour protection coverage for all workers. And Sim really emphasized this isn't just some slogan, it's actual policy action, taken to protect the health, the lives of the national workforce. It's presented as a direct translation of that caring ethic into a nationwide safety net, protection against incidents, work-related or not, around the clock.
So, moving from state-level economics and infrastructure in Penang to national-level personal welfare and health, that's quite a jump in scale and scope. What about public health infrastructure specifically? Any examples there?
Yeah, he mentioned extending that commitment beyond Penang, too, while still using Penang partly as a test case or model. He cited a dialysis center already operating in Seberang Perai showing practical healthcare delivery. And he also talked about future plans, more medical facilities planned for Georgetown and also for Bukit Mertisham in Pematang Po, all framed as efforts to boost public well-being and access to essential care.
Right. So Stephen Sim is basically packaging all these achievements together, from the massive investments, the infrastructure projects, down to direct worker welfare and health facilities, and presenting it as essentially irrefutable proof that they're now fully equipped, both administratively and philosophically, to manage the whole country.
That's precisely his closing argument. His synthesis is very clear. If a party can successfully manage a complex state like Penang for nearly 2 decades, navigating challenges, attracting huge investments, maintaining grassroots welfare, then, they argue, they possess the necessary skills, the integrity, the administrative know-how for federal governance. It's purely a performance-based argument.
So Stephen Sim has laid out his case. He's used the numbers, the years in power, specific policies like the PERCSO changes. But here's the question, maybe for you listening, to think about. While Penang's success is, well, notable, moving to federal governance means handling huge differences across all 13 states, plus the federal territories. Does governing one key state successfully, no matter how impressive the figures or projects are, automatically guarantee success running a country as diverse and complex as Malaysia?
Yeah, you have to consider the difference in scale. Managing Penang's budget versus the entire national budget, for instance, and the vastly different political sensitivities, economic needs, from Perlis to Sabah. The real test might not just be economic management, but unifying very different regional priorities under one federal strategy. That's a whole other challenge, isn't it?
Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.